Life has a way of throwing curveballs when we least expect them. Maybe it's a sudden loss, a career setback, or a personal failure that leaves you feeling stuck and overwhelmed. These moments can feel like they're breaking you, but what if I told you they could also be the moments that build you? This is where Stoicism, an ancient philosophy practiced by some of history's greatest minds, offers a lifeline. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words aren't just poetic, they're practical. Stoicism teaches us how to endure life's toughest challenges not by avoiding them, but by transforming how we see them. Today, we'll explore how Stoic principles like acceptance, focusing on what's within our control, and emotional detachment can help you not just survive, but thrive in the face of adversity. By the end of this video, you'll walk away with tools to turn your struggles into stepping stones and your challenges into opportunities for growth. Let's dive in. How often do you find yourself stressing over things you can't change? Whether it's a delayed flight, a rude comment from a coworker, or even the weather, these external events can feel like they're holding us hostage. But here's the thing, Stoicism offers a powerful tool to break free from this cycle of frustration. It's called the Dichotomy of Control, and it's one of the most transformative ideas in Stoic philosophy. At its core, this concept teaches us to distinguish between what's within our power and what isn't. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it perfectly: some things are within our control and some things are not. If you focus on what's within your control, you'll find peace. If you try to control what's outside your power, you'll only invite suffering. Think about it. When you're stuck in traffic, you can't magically clear the road ahead, but you can control how you react to the situation. Maybe you use the time to listen to a podcast or simply take a few deep breaths to center yourself. The same principle applies to bigger challenges like workplace conflicts or personal setbacks. You can't control how others behave, but you can choose how you respond. By shifting your focus to what's within your control, you reduce unnecessary anxiety and build resilience. It's not about ignoring the problem, it's about redirecting your energy to where it can actually make a difference. Let's make this practical. Take a moment to think about a challenge you're facing right now. What parts of it are truly within your control? Maybe it's your attitude, your effort, or the way you communicate. And what's outside your control? Perhaps it's someone else's opinion, a global event, or even the passage of time. By making this distinction, you're not just solving a problem, you're reclaiming your power. This is the essence of Stoicism. It's not about avoiding life's difficulties, but about facing them with clarity and strength. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, what can I control here? That simple question might just change everything. What if every obstacle was a gift? What if the very things that seem to hold you back are actually the keys to your growth? This is the heart of Ammaphati, a Latin phrase that translates to love of fate. It's a Stoic practice that invites us to embrace everything that happens, good or bad, as an essential part of our journey. Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by Stoic philosophy, once said, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Ammaphati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." In other words, loving your fate means accepting life as it is, not as you wish it to be. It's about finding meaning in every experience, even the painful ones. Think about Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. Instead of letting bitterness consume him, he used that time to reflect, grow, and prepare for the monumental task of leading South Africa out of apartheid. Mandela didn't just endure his fate, he embraced it, transforming his suffering into a force for change. This is the power of Amor Fati. It's not about passively resigning yourself to life's hardships, it's about actively finding value in them. When you learn to love your fate, you stop resisting what you can't control and start seeing challenges as opportunities for growth. Let's bring this closer to home. Imagine you've just been passed over for a promotion. It's disappointing, sure, but what if you reframed it as a chance to reassess your goals? Maybe it's an opportunity to develop new skills, explore a different career path, or even start your own venture. The setback doesn't define you, your response to it does. This is the essence of Amor Fati. It's a mindset shift that turns obstacles into stepping stones. So here's a challenge for you. Think about a recent challenge you faced. Instead of seeing it as a roadblock, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger or wiser? By reframing your perspective, you're not just surviving life's challenges, you're thriving through them. And that's the beauty of Stoicism. It doesn't promise an easy life, but it does offer a way to live with purpose, resilience, and even gratitude, no matter what comes your way. What would you do differently if today were your last day? It's a heavy question, but one that Stoicism encourages us to ask ourselves regularly. This practice is known as Memento Mori, a Latin phrase that means remember you must die. At first glance, it might sound morbid, but in reality, it's one of the most liberating tools Stoicism offers. By reflecting on our mortality, we're reminded of life's impermanence, which helps us focus on what truly matters. As Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, put it, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." In other words, we often waste time worrying about trivial things, forgetting that our time here is limited. Memento Mori is a wake-up call to live intentionally, not just exist. Imagine this: you're faced with a big decision at work. Maybe it's whether to take a risk on a new project or play it safe. Fear of failure might hold you back, but what if you asked yourself, will this matter in the grand scheme of my life? When you remember that your time is finite, the fear of failure loses its grip. Suddenly, the risk feels worth taking because you're focused on creating something meaningful, not just avoiding mistakes. This is the power of Memento Mori. It strips away the noise and helps you see what's truly important. The same principle applies to relationships. How often do we put off saying what we really feel or spending time with the people we care about, thinking there will always be more time? Memento Mori reminds us that there might not be. It's not about living in fear of loss, but about cherishing the present and making the most of the moments we have. Think about it. If you knew your time with someone was limited, would you still hold onto that grudge? Or would you choose to forgive, connect, and appreciate them while you can? Here's a practical way to apply this. Take a moment to reflect on your life right now. If you knew your time were limited, what's one thing you'd prioritize? Maybe it's a dream you've been putting off, a relationship you've neglected, or even just taking better care of yourself. By identifying that one thing, you're not just acknowledging your mortality, you're reclaiming your life. Memento Mori isn't about dwelling on death. It's about using the awareness of it to live more fully, more boldly, and more authentically. So, what will you choose to do with the time you have? The answer might just change everything. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by someone else's criticism? Maybe it was a harsh comment on social media, a tough performance review at work, or even an offhand remark from a friend. It's easy to let those moments sting, to feel like they define us or shake our confidence. But what if you could experience those situations without letting them control your emotions? This is where Stoicism introduces the practice of cognitive detachment, a powerful tool for maintaining emotional stability in the face of external judgments. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." In other words, while you can't control what others say or do, you can control how you interpret and respond to it. This is the essence of cognitive detachment, separating your emotions from external events so that you remain steady, no matter what comes your way. Let's break this down. Cognitive detachment doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or pretending criticism doesn't exist. Instead, it's about recognizing that the opinions of others are just that, opinions. They don't have to dictate your self-worth or emotional state. Think about social media for a moment. When someone leaves a negative comment on your post, it's easy to spiral into self-doubt or frustration. But what if you paused and asked yourself, does this person's opinion reflect the truth about me? Chances are it doesn't. Their comment says more about their perspective than it does about your value. By detaching emotionally, you free yourself from the need for external validation and focus instead on your own principles and goals. This practice is just as valuable in the workplace. Imagine receiving critical feedback from a manager. Instead of taking it personally, you could view it as an opportunity to grow. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? By shifting your focus from how the feedback makes you feel to how it can help you improve, you turn a potentially painful moment into a constructive one. This is the power of cognitive detachment. It transforms emotional reactions into thoughtful responses. Now, let's make this personal. Think about a time when you took something someone said or did personally. Maybe it was a family argument, a disagreement with a friend, or even a stranger's rude behavior. How did it affect you? Did it linger in your mind, stealing your peace? Now, imagine approaching that same situation with cognitive detachment. Instead of letting their words or actions define your emotions, you could choose to see them as separate from your inner worth. This doesn't mean you ignore the situation. It means you respond from a place of clarity, not reactivity. So, here's a challenge for you. The next time you face criticism or judgment, pause and ask yourself, is this about me or is it about them? By practicing cognitive detachment, you're not just protecting your emotional well-being, you're reclaiming your power to choose how you experience life. And that's the beauty of Stoicism. It gives you the tools to navigate life's challenges with grace, resilience, and a steady mind. Every obstacle is a stepping stone if you choose to see it that way. This idea lies at the heart of Stoicism and is beautifully captured in the phrase, "the obstacle is the way." It's a reminder that challenges aren't just roadblocks, they're opportunities in disguise. Ryan Holiday, a modern advocate of Stoic philosophy, puts it this way: the obstacle in the path becomes the path. Never forget, within every obstacle is an opportunity to improve our condition. This mindset shift is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it. It's not about denying the difficulty of a situation, but about finding the hidden potential within it. Think about Thomas Edison, who famously failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Instead of seeing each failure as a defeat, he viewed it as a lesson. He once said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's the essence of the obstacle is the way. It's about transforming setbacks into stepping stones. Edison didn't just endure his failures, he used them to refine his process and ultimately achieve something revolutionary. This is the power of reframing. When you stop seeing obstacles as enemies and start seeing them as teachers, you unlock a new level of resilience and creativity. But this isn't just about historical figures or grand achievements. It applies to everyday life too. Maybe you're dealing with a difficult boss, a strained relationship, or a financial setback. Instead of feeling defeated, ask yourself, what can this challenge teach me? How can it push me to grow? Perhaps that difficult boss is teaching you patience and communication skills. Maybe the strained relationship is showing you where you need to set boundaries or practice forgiveness. And that financial setback, it might be the push you need to reevaluate your priorities and build better habits. The obstacle isn't just something to overcome, it's something to learn from. Let's make this personal. Take a moment to think about an obstacle you're facing right now. It could be something big, like a career change, or something smaller, like a daily frustration. Now ask yourself, how can this challenge help me grow? Maybe it's teaching you resilience, creativity, or even humility. By shifting your perspective, you're not just surviving the obstacle, you're using it to become stronger, wiser, and more capable. This is the Stoic way. It's about finding the opportunity within the adversity and using it to move forward. So, the next time you face a challenge, remember, the obstacle isn't the end of the road, it's the path itself. By embracing this mindset, you're not just navigating life's difficulties, you're transforming them into opportunities for growth. And that's the true power of Stoicism. It doesn't just help you endure life's challenges, it helps you thrive through them. When was the last time you paused to truly appreciate what you have? In a world that constantly pushes us to want more success, more possessions, more validation, it's easy to lose sight of what we already possess. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to this cycle of endless desire, gratitude. By shifting our focus from what we lack to what we have, gratitude fosters a sense of contentment and reduces the stress that comes from chasing after things we can't control. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound thinkers, put it this way: true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. In other words, gratitude isn't just about saying thank you, it's about finding joy and peace in the here and now. Let's break this down. Gratitude isn't about ignoring life's challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing the good that exists alongside the difficulties. Think about it, even on your toughest days, there's always something to appreciate. A kind word from a friend, a moment of quiet, or even the simple fact that you're alive and breathing. By focusing on these small but meaningful things, you train your mind to see abundance rather than scarcity. This shift in perspective doesn't just make you feel better, it helps you navigate life's ups and downs with greater resilience and calm. So, how can you practice gratitude in a way that aligns with Stoic principles? One practical tool is keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand or life-changing sometimes. It's the smallest things that matter most. Maybe it's the warmth of sunlight on your face, a delicious meal, or a moment of laughter with someone you care about. Over time, this practice rewires your brain to notice and appreciate the good in your life, even when things feel overwhelming. Another way to cultivate gratitude is by reflecting on your daily wins. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what went well today? Maybe you handled a difficult conversation with grace, made progress on a project, or simply took a moment to rest. By acknowledging these victories, no matter how small, you build a habit of focusing on what's working rather than what's not. This isn't about ignoring problems, it's about balancing your perspective so that challenges don't overshadow the good. Here's a challenge for you. Take a moment right now to list 3 things you're grateful for. They can be big or small, personal or universal. Maybe it's the support of a loved one, the beauty of nature, or even the opportunity to learn and grow through life's challenges. By doing this, you're not just practicing gratitude, you're reclaiming your power to shape your own mindset. And that's the beauty of Stoicism. It doesn't just teach you how to endure life's difficulties, it shows you how to find meaning and joy in the midst of them. So, what are you grateful for today? The answer might just change how you see the world. How often do you find yourself worrying about the future or dwelling on the past? Maybe you're replaying a conversation that didn't go well, or you're anxiously planning for a meeting that's weeks away. It's easy to get caught up in these mental loops, but here's the truth. The only moment you truly have is the one you're in right now. This is where Stoicism offers a profound yet simple practice focusing on the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." At first glance, it might seem like a small piece of advice, but it's actually a game changer for reducing anxiety and gaining clarity. When you anchor yourself in the present, you stop wasting energy on things you can't control and start living with intention. Let's break this down. Worrying about the future or ruminating on the past doesn't just drain your energy, it clouds your ability to see clearly. Think about it. When you're stuck in a spiral of what ifs or if onlys, you're not fully engaging with what's happening right now. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that the present moment is the only place where you can take meaningful action. By focusing on the here and now, you free yourself from the weight of regret and the pressure of uncertainty. It's not about ignoring the past or the future, it's about recognizing that the present is where your power lies. So, how can you practice this in your daily life? One practical way is through mindfulness techniques. For example, try this simple exercise. Take 5 minutes to sit quietly and focus on your breath. Notice the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. If your mind starts to wander, and it will gently bring your attention back to your breath. This isn't about achieving perfect focus, it's about training your mind to return to the present moment. Over time, this practice can help you become more aware of when you're drifting into worry or regret, and it gives you the tools to come back to the now. Another way to cultivate presence is by fully immersing yourself in everyday activities. Whether it's washing the dishes, walking your dog, or having a conversation, try to give your full attention to the task at hand. Notice the details, the warmth of the water, the sound of your footsteps, the expressions on the other person's face. When you do this, you're not just completing a task, you're practicing presence. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes to stay grounded in the moment. Here's a challenge for you today. Spend 5 minutes fully present in an activity. It could be something as simple as drinking a cup of tea or listening to a song. Pay attention to every detail, the taste, the texture, the sounds. Notice how it feels to be fully engaged in the experience. By doing this, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're reclaiming your ability to live with clarity and purpose. And that's the power of presence. It doesn't just reduce anxiety, it transforms how you experience life itself. So, what will you choose to be fully present for today? The answer might just change how you see the world. Resilience isn't born in comfort, it's forged in adversity. This is a truth Stoicism has long embraced, teaching us that hardship isn't something to avoid but something to learn from. The Stoics believed that challenges are the ultimate teachers, shaping us into stronger, wiser, and more capable individuals. Epictetus, a former slave-turned-philosopher, put it this way: difficulties show what men are. Therefore, when a difficulty befalls you, remember that God, like a trainer of wrestlers, has matched you with a tough opponent. In other words, adversity isn't a punishment, it's an opportunity to grow. It's through struggle that we discover our true strength and develop the resilience to face whatever life throws our way. Think about the stories of athletes who have overcome incredible odds. Take Serena Williams, for example. Early in her career, she faced criticism, injuries, and setbacks that could have derailed her dreams. But instead of giving up, she used those challenges to fuel her determination. Each obstacle became a lesson, pushing her to refine her skills and mental toughness. Today, she's not just a tennis champion, she's a symbol of resilience. This is the Stoic mindset in action, seeing adversity not as a barrier, but as a stepping stone to greatness. The same principle applies to entrepreneurs. Consider the story of Steve Jobs, who was famously fired from Apple, the company he co-founded. Instead of letting that failure define him, he used it as a catalyst for growth. He went on to create NXT and Pixar, and eventually returned to Apple to lead it to unprecedented success. Jobs once said, I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. This is the essence of Stoicism. It's not about what happens to you, but how you respond to it. When you view challenges as opportunities, you transform setbacks into comebacks. Now let's bring this closer to home. Think about a time in your own life when you faced a significant challenge. Maybe it was a personal loss, a professional failure, or a period of uncertainty. At the time, it might have felt overwhelming, but looking back, you can probably see how it shaped you. Perhaps it taught you patience, perseverance, or the importance of self-reliance. That's the power of adversity. It doesn't just test us, it transforms us. By enduring hardship, we build the resilience to handle future challenges with greater confidence and grace. Here's a question to reflect on. What's one challenge you faced that ultimately made you stronger? Take a moment to think about how that experience shaped your character or changed your perspective. By acknowledging the growth that came from it, you're not just honoring your journey, you're preparing yourself for whatever comes next. This is the Stoic way, embracing adversity as a teacher and using it to build a life of resilience, purpose, and strength. So the next time you face a tough situation, remember, it's not just a test, it's an opportunity to rise. How much of your stress comes from trying to control the uncontrollable? Whether it's a job interview, a relationship, or even your own health, it's easy to get caught up in the desire for a specific outcome. But here's the truth, life is unpredictable, and clinging too tightly to how we think things should go often leads to frustration and disappointment. This is where Stoicism introduces the art of letting go, a practice that doesn't mean giving up, but rather releasing attachment to outcomes so you can find peace and adaptability in the face of uncertainty. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound thinkers, put it this way: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. In other words, much of our stress comes from trying to control what's beyond our power rather than accepting life as it unfolds. Let's break this down. Letting go isn't about apathy or resignation. It's about shifting your focus from what you can't control to what you can. Think about a job interview. You can prepare thoroughly, practice your answers, and present yourself confidently, but you can't control the hiring manager's decision. By releasing attachment to the outcome, you free yourself from unnecessary anxiety and open yourself to other opportunities, even if this one doesn't work out. The same principle applies to relationships. You can communicate openly, show kindness, and invest in the connection, but you can't control how the other person responds. Letting go allows you to focus on your own actions and values, rather than being consumed by the need for a specific result. This practice is especially powerful when it comes to health challenges. Whether you're dealing with a chronic condition or recovering from an injury, there are aspects of your health that are beyond your control. You can eat well, exercise, and follow medical advice, but you can't dictate how your body will respond. By letting go of the need for a perfect outcome, you create space for acceptance and adaptability. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting the uncontrollable dictate your peace of mind. So, how can you start practicing the art of letting go in your own life? Begin by identifying one thing you're holding onto too tightly. Maybe it's a career goal, a relationship dynamic, or even a personal expectation. Ask yourself, what parts of this situation are within my control and what parts aren't? By making this distinction, you're not just releasing attachment, you're reclaiming your power to focus on what truly matters. This is the essence of Stoicism. It's not about avoiding life's challenges, but about facing them with clarity, resilience, and a steady mind. Here's a challenge for you. Think about one thing you need to release control over. It could be as simple as the outcome of a conversation or as complex as a long-term goal. Write it down and then reflect on what you can control in that situation. By shifting your focus, you're not just reducing stress, you're opening yourself to new possibilities and a deeper sense of peace. And that's the beauty of letting go. It doesn't just free you from the weight of expectation, it empowers you to live with greater flexibility and grace. So, what will you choose to release today? The answer might just change how you experience life itself. True strength isn't physical, it's the ability to remain calm in chaos. This is the kind of strength Stoicism helps us cultivate, not the kind that flexes muscles, but the kind that steadies the mind and heart when life feels overwhelming. Inner strength is what allows us to face adversity with dignity, to endure without losing ourselves, and to emerge from challenges not just intact but transformed. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." These words remind us that true resilience comes from within, not from the circumstances around us. It's about mastering your reactions, not controlling the uncontrollable. So, how does Stoicism help us build this inner strength? It starts with understanding that life will always throw challenges our way. Loss, failure, rejection, and uncertainty are inevitable. But Stoicism teaches us that our response to these challenges is what defines us. It's not about avoiding pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about facing reality head-on with clarity and courage. Think of it like a tree in a storm. The wind and rain are beyond its control, but its roots deep, strong, and unshakable. Keep it standing. Inner strength works the same way. It's the roots that keep you grounded when everything around you feels chaotic. Let's look at a real-world example. Consider the story of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. In the face of unimaginable suffering, Frankl found a way to endure by focusing on what he could control, his mindset. He later wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." This is the essence of Stoic inner strength. Even in the darkest moments, we have the power to choose how we respond. Frankl didn't just survive the horrors of the concentration camps. He found meaning in them, and that meaning gave him the strength to keep going. But you don't have to face extreme adversity to cultivate inner strength. It's something we can practice every day in small but meaningful ways. Maybe it's staying calm during a heated argument, pushing through a tough workout when you feel like quitting, or simply choosing to smile on a day when everything seems to go wrong. These moments might seem small, but they're the building blocks of resilience. Each time you choose to respond with patience, courage, or grace, you're strengthening your inner core. Here's a question to reflect on. When was the last time you demonstrated inner strength? Maybe it was during a difficult conversation, a personal setback, or even a moment of self-doubt. Take a moment to think about how you handled that situation. What did you learn about yourself? How did it shape your ability to face future challenges? By recognizing your own resilience, you're not just honoring your past, you're preparing yourself for whatever comes next. This is the power of Stoicism. It doesn't just help you survive life's toughest moments, it helps you grow through them, building a strength that no storm can shake. So, the next time you face a challenge, remember, true strength isn't about avoiding the storm, it's about standing tall, no matter how hard the wind blows. What does it mean to live a good life? For the Stoics, the answer lies in virtue, living in alignment with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These four cardinal virtues aren't just abstract ideals, they're practical guides for navigating life's complexities with integrity and purpose. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most influential voices, put it simply, "Virtue is the only good." But what does that really mean? It means that true fulfillment doesn't come from wealth, fame, or external success. It comes from living in a way that reflects your highest values, no matter the circumstances. Let's break this down. Wisdom, the first virtue, is about seeing the world clearly and making decisions based on reason rather than impulse. It's the ability to step back, assess a situation objectively, and act with intention. Courage, the second virtue, isn't just about physical bravery. It's about facing emotional and moral challenges with resilience. It's standing up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable or risky. Justice, the third virtue, is about fairness and treating others with respect and compassion. And temperance, the fourth virtue, is about self-control, balancing your desires and emotions so they don't control you. Together, these virtues form the foundation of a Stoic life, guiding us to act with integrity in every situation. But how does this play out in real life? Imagine you're faced with an ethical dilemma at work. Maybe you've discovered a colleague is cutting corners in a way that could harm the company or its clients. Wisdom helps you assess the situation objectively. Courage gives you the strength to speak up even if it's uncomfortable. Justice ensures you act fairly, considering the impact on everyone involved. And temperance keeps you from reacting impulsively, allowing you to approach the situation with calm and clarity. This is the power of virtue. It's not just about doing the right thing, it's about becoming the kind of person who naturally does the right thing. Now let's bring this closer to home. Think about a recent decision you've made, big or small. Did it align with your values? Were you guided by wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance? If not, what could you have done differently? The beauty of Stoic virtue is that it's not about perfection. It's about progress. Every day, you have the opportunity to practice these virtues, to grow a little wiser, a little braver, a little more just, and a little more self-disciplined. Over time, these small choices add up, shaping not just your actions, but your character. Here's a challenge for you. Take a moment to reflect on one area of your life where you could embody these virtues more fully. Maybe it's in your relationships, your work, or even how you treat yourself. What's one small step you can take today to live more virtuously? By doing this, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're building a life of meaning, purpose, and integrity. And that's the true measure of a good life, not what you have, but who you become. So, what will you choose to embody today? The answer might just change everything. What's the one thing you're most afraid of right now? Maybe it's the thought of losing your job, the fear of failure, or even the uncertainty of what tomorrow might bring. Fear has a way of creeping into our minds, often paralyzing us before we even take the first step. But what if I told you that fear isn't as real as it feels? Stoicism teaches us that fear is a mental construct, a story we tell ourselves about what might happen, not what will happen. As Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, fear isn't about the external event. It's about how we interpret it, and that's something we can control. Let's break this down. Fear often stems from our imagination running wild, creating worst-case scenarios that may never come to pass. Think about public speaking, for example. Many people dread it not because the act itself is inherently dangerous, but because they're afraid of being judged or making a mistake. But here's the thing, those fears are based on possibilities, not certainties. Stoicism helps us reframe this by focusing on what's within our control, our preparation, our mindset, and how we choose to respond if things don't go as planned. By shifting our attention from the what-ifs to the what-is, we strip fear of its power. The same principle applies to financial worries. Maybe you're anxious about losing your savings or not being able to provide for your family. While these concerns are valid, Stoicism reminds us that fear doesn't solve the problem, action does. Instead of dwelling on the uncertainty, focus on what you can do. Create a budget, build an emergency fund, or explore new income streams. By taking practical steps, you're not just reducing fear, you're reclaiming your sense of agency. Health concerns are another area where fear can take hold. Whether it's a diagnosis or the fear of getting sick, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. but Stoicism teaches us to separate the facts from the stories we tell ourselves. For instance, instead of catastrophizing about what might happen, focus on what you can do to take care of your health, eating well, exercising, and following medical advice. By grounding yourself in the present and taking action, you're not just managing fear, you're building resilience. Here's a challenge for you. Think about a fear that's been holding you back. Maybe it's a fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown. Now ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And more importantly, how would I handle it if it did? By confronting your fear head-on, you're not just reducing its power, you're preparing yourself to face it with courage and clarity. This is the essence of Stoicism. It doesn't promise a life free of fear, but it gives you the tools to face fear with strength and purpose. So, what's one fear you're ready to confront today? The answer might just change how you see the world. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's what turns intentions into actions and dreams into reality. In Stoicism, self-discipline isn't just about willpower, it's about aligning your actions with your values even when it's hard. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This idea is at the heart of Stoic self-discipline, mastering yourself so that external distractions or temptations don't derail your progress. It's not about punishing yourself or living a rigid life. It's about creating the freedom to live intentionally, even in the face of challenges. So, how does self-discipline build resilience and focus? Think of it like training a muscle. The more you practice making choices that align with your long-term goals, the stronger your ability to stay focused becomes. For example, sticking to a morning routine, whether it's meditation, exercise, or journaling, requires discipline, but it also sets the tone for the rest of your day. Over time, these small, consistent actions compound, helping you build the mental and emotional resilience to handle whatever comes your way. Self-discipline isn't just about what you do, it's about who you become in the process. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're trying to overcome procrastination on a big project. Instead of waiting for motivation to strike, you commit to working on it for just 15 minutes a day. At first, it might feel like a struggle, but as you stick to this habit, you'll find it easier to stay focused and make progress. This is the power of self-discipline. It helps you break through inertia and build momentum even when the task feels daunting. And the more you practice, the more you'll notice that discipline isn't a burden, it's a tool for creating the life you want. Now, let's bring this closer to home. Think about one area of your life where you could use more discipline. Maybe it's managing your time better, sticking to a fitness routine, or even being more present in your relationships. What's one small step you could take today to practice self-discipline in that area? By starting small and staying consistent, you're not just building a habit, you're cultivating the inner strength to live with purpose and resilience. This is the Stoic way. It's not about perfection, but progress. So, what's one thing you're ready to commit to today? The choice is yours, and the results could change everything. What if your biggest problem was actually a blessing in disguise? It's a question that might feel counterintuitive, especially when you're in the thick of a challenge. But here's the thing, perspective is everything. The way we see a situation, whether as a roadblock or a stepping stone, can completely change how we experience it. This is one of Stoicism's most powerful lessons. Hardship isn't inherently good or bad. It's our interpretation of it that gives it meaning. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, put it this way: difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. In other words, challenges aren't just obstacles, they're opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Let's break this down. Imagine you've just been passed over for a promotion. At first glance, it feels like a failure, a blow to your confidence. But what if you shifted your perspective? What if you saw it as a chance to reassess your career path? to identify areas where you can improve, or even to explore new opportunities you hadn't considered before. Suddenly, the setback isn't a dead end. It's a detour leading you somewhere unexpected and possibly even better. This is the power of perspective. It doesn't change the situation, but it changes how you respond to it. And that response can make all the difference. The same principle applies to health challenges. Take someone who's diagnosed with a chronic illness. It's easy to see this as a life-altering limitation. But what if you reframed it as an opportunity to prioritize self-care, to deepen your relationships, or to find new ways to live meaningfully within your circumstances? By shifting your perspective, you're not denying the difficulty, you're finding a way to thrive in spite of it. This is what Stoicism teaches us. Life's challenges aren't just something to endure, they're something to learn from. Now let's bring this closer to home. Think about a challenge you're facing right now, whether it's a career setback, a health issue, or a relationship struggle. How are you viewing it? Are you seeing it as a problem to overcome or as an opportunity to grow? Here's a simple exercise. Take a moment to reframe that challenge from a new perspective. Ask yourself, what could this situation teach me? How could it help me become stronger, wiser, or more compassionate? By shifting your perspective, you're not just solving a problem, you're transforming it into a catalyst for growth. This is the essence of Stoicism. It doesn't promise an easy life, but it offers a way to live with purpose and resilience, no matter what comes your way. So, the next time you face a challenge, remember, the way you see it can change everything. What if your biggest problem was actually your greatest opportunity? The answer might just change how you see the world. In silence, we find clarity. It's in those quiet moments, away from the noise of the world, that we can truly hear ourselves. Stoicism places immense value on solitude and reflection, not as an escape from life, but as a way to engage with it more deeply. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." These words remind us that stillness isn't just a physical state, it's a mental one. It's about creating space to reflect, to process, and to reconnect with what truly matters. But why is silence so powerful? In a world that's constantly buzzing with notifications, deadlines, and distractions, solitude offers a rare opportunity to pause and reset. It's in these moments of quiet that we can untangle our thoughts, confront our emotions, and gain a clearer perspective on our lives. Think of it like a glass of muddy water. When you let it sit, the sediment settles and the water becomes clear. Silence works the same way for the mind. It allows the chaos to settle so you can see things as they really are. So, how can you incorporate this practice into your life? One practical way is through meditation. Even just a few minutes of sitting quietly, focusing on your breath, can help you cultivate a sense of inner calm. Journaling is another powerful tool. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you process them more effectively, giving you a clearer understanding of what's going on beneath the surface. And let's not forget the simple act of spending time in nature. A quiet walk in the woods or by the ocean can be incredibly grounding, helping you reconnect with yourself and the world around you. Here's a challenge for you today. Carve out just 10 minutes to sit in silence. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Just find a quiet spot, close your eyes, and let your mind settle. Notice what comes up. Are there thoughts or emotions you've been avoiding? Are there insights or ideas that have been waiting to surface? By giving yourself this space, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're creating an opportunity for growth, clarity, and peace. And in a world that's always rushing, that's a gift worth giving yourself. So, what will you discover in the silence? The answer might just change how you see everything. How do your relationships shape your resilience? It's easy to think of Stoicism as a solitary practice, something you do alone, in quiet reflection or personal discipline. But the truth is, Stoicism has always been deeply rooted in community and connection. The Stoics believed that we're not meant to live in isolation. We're social beings, and our relationships play a vital role in our growth and well-being. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, put it this way: "What is the fruit of these teachings? Only the most beautiful and proper harvest of the truly educated tranquility, fearlessness, and freedom." We should not trust the masses who say only the free can be educated, but rather the lovers of wisdom who say only the educated are free. In other words, true freedom and resilience come not just from self-mastery, but from how we engage with and serve others. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that helping others isn't just a moral duty, it's a way to strengthen our own character. When we contribute to our communities, whether through volunteering, mentorship, or simply being present for those we care about, we're not just making a difference in their lives, we're cultivating virtues like compassion, humility, and gratitude. Think about it: when you lend a hand to someone in need, you're practicing empathy and selflessness. These actions don't just benefit others, they shape who you are. This is the Stoic view of community. It's a two-way street where giving and receiving are intertwined, and where connection becomes a source of strength. Let's make this practical. Consider the act of volunteering. When you dedicate your time to a cause you care about, you're not just helping others, you're also building resilience. You're stepping outside your own struggles and gaining perspective on the challenges others face. This shift in focus can be incredibly grounding, reminding you that you're part of something larger than yourself. The same principle applies to mentorship. When you share your knowledge and experience with someone else, you're not just guiding them, you're reinforcing your own understanding and values. And let's not forget the power of family bonds. Supporting loved ones through tough times isn't just an act of care, it's a reminder of what truly matters, helping you stay anchored in your own values. Here's a question to reflect on. How can you contribute to your community in a way that aligns with your values? Maybe it's by volunteering at a local shelter, mentoring a younger colleague, or simply being there for a friend who's going through a tough time. The key is to find a way to serve that feels meaningful to you. By doing this, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're living it, and in the process, you're building a resilience that's rooted not just in self-discipline, but in connection and compassion. So, what's one way you can make a difference today? The answer might just change how you see your place in the world. What's the worst that could happen, and how would you handle it? It's a question that might make you uncomfortable, but it's at the heart of a powerful Stoic practice called Premeditatio Malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This exercise isn't about dwelling on negativity or inviting fear, it's about preparing for life's uncertainties so you can face them with clarity and confidence. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound thinkers, put it this way: "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." This is a reason for ensuring that nothing ever takes us by surprise. In other words, by anticipating challenges, we strip them of their power to overwhelm us. It's not about expecting the worst, it's about being ready for anything. Let's break this down. Premeditatio Malorum is like a mental rehearsal for adversity. Imagine you're preparing for a big presentation at work. Instead of just hoping it goes well, you take a moment to consider what could go wrong. Maybe the projector fails, or you forget your notes, or the audience seems disengaged. By visualizing these scenarios, you're not just bracing yourself for the worst, you're also preparing solutions. If the projector fails, you'll have a backup plan. If you forget your notes, you'll rely on your knowledge of the material. If the audience seems disengaged, you'll adjust your delivery to recapture their attention. This practice doesn't just reduce anxiety, it builds confidence because you've already thought through how to handle the unexpected. The same principle applies to bigger challenges like job loss or illness. Let's say you're worried about losing your job. Instead of letting that fear paralyze you, use Premeditatio Malorum to prepare. What steps could you take to protect yourself financially? How would you update your resume or network with others in your field? By mentally walking through these scenarios, you're not just reducing fear, you're creating a plan of action. And when you have a plan, even the scariest situations feel more manageable. Now, let's make this personal. Think about a challenge you're worried about, whether it's a health scare, a financial setback, or even a difficult conversation with a loved one. Take a moment to imagine the worst-case scenario. What would it look like, and more importantly, how would you handle it? By mentally preparing for this possibility, you're not just bracing for impact, you're building resilience. This is the essence of Premeditatio Malorum. It's not about fearing the future, but about empowering yourself to face it with strength and clarity. Here's a challenge for you today. Pick one thing you're anxious about and practice Premeditatio Malorum. Visualize the worst-case scenario and then think through how you'd respond. What steps could you take to mitigate the impact? How would you adapt and move forward? By doing this, you're not just preparing for adversity, you're reclaiming your power to face it with confidence. And that's the beauty of Stoicism. It doesn't just help you survive life's challenges, it helps you thrive through them. So, what's one thing you're ready to prepare for today? The answer might just change how you see the future. True strength lies in knowing your limits. It's a simple idea, but one that's often overlooked in a world that celebrates ego and self-promotion. Stoicism, however, teaches us that humility isn't a weakness, it's a strength. It's the quiet confidence that comes from understanding your place in the world, recognizing your flaws, and being open to growth. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. At first glance, this might seem unrelated to humility, but think about it. Humility is about recognizing what you can't control, your ego, your need for validation, your desire to always be right. When you let go of these things, you free yourself to focus on what truly matters: growth, connection, and living in alignment with your values. Humility fosters growth because it keeps us open to learning. When we approach life with a sense of curiosity rather than certainty, we're more likely to see opportunities for improvement. Think about a leader who admits they don't have all the answers. Instead of losing respect, they often gain it because their humility creates an environment where others feel safe to contribute and innovate. This is the Stoic view of humility. It's not about diminishing yourself, but about creating space for others to shine. It's about recognizing that we're all works in progress, and that true wisdom comes from acknowledging how much we still have to learn. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're working on a team project. Instead of insisting your idea is the best, you take a step back and listen to others. You might discover a perspective you hadn't considered, or a solution that's better than anything you could have come up with on your own. This is humility in action. It's not about self-effacement, but about collaboration and mutual respect. The same principle applies to personal growth. Maybe you've always struggled with a particular skill, like public speaking or time management. Instead of pretending you've got it all figured out, you seek advice or take a class. By embracing humility, you're not just improving yourself, you're building resilience and adaptability. Here's a question to reflect on. Where in your life could you practice more humility? Maybe it's in your relationships, where you could listen more and argue less. Or perhaps it's at work, where you could acknowledge your mistakes and learn from them. Whatever it is, take a moment to consider how humility could help you grow. By doing this, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're creating a life of deeper connection, greater wisdom, and true strength. So, what's one area where you're ready to embrace humility today? the answer might just change how you see yourself and the world around you. When was the last time you wrote down your thoughts? Not just a quick note or a to-do list, but a deep, honest reflection on your day, your emotions, and your goals. For the Stoics, journaling wasn't just a habit, it was a cornerstone of self-improvement. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, once wrote, "You should meditate on what you have seen and heard each day, and examine yourself to see what you have avoided and what you have pursued." This practice of daily reflection wasn't about dwelling on the past. It was about gaining clarity, processing emotions, and aligning your actions with your values. In a world that's constantly pulling us in 100 directions, journaling offers a rare moment of stillness, a chance to pause, reflect, and reconnect with what truly matters. So, how does journaling foster clarity and emotional processing? Think of your mind as a cluttered room. Thoughts, worries, and emotions pile up, making it hard to see clearly. Writing them down is like tidying up. It helps you sort through the chaos, identify what's important, and let go of what's not. For the Stoics, this process was essential for self-examination. By putting their thoughts on paper, they could step back and see their lives from a new perspective. Were they living in alignment with their values? Were they reacting to challenges with wisdom and courage? Journaling gave them the space to ask these questions and find answers. Let's make this practical. One of the most effective ways to incorporate journaling into your life is through a morning or evening routine. In the morning, you might write about your intentions for the day, what you hope to achieve, how you want to show up, and what challenges you might face. This sets a clear, purposeful tone for the hours ahead. In the evening, you could reflect on what went well, what didn't, and what you learned. This isn't about judging yourself. It's about observing your actions and emotions with curiosity and compassion. Over time, this practice helps you spot patterns, celebrate progress, and identify areas for growth. Here's a challenge for you: start a daily journaling habit. It doesn't have to be long or elaborate, just a few minutes each day to write down your thoughts. You might begin with a simple prompt like, "What am I grateful for today?" Or, "What's one thing I learned?" The key is consistency. By making this a regular practice, you're not just recording your thoughts, you're creating a space for self-discovery and growth. And who knows, you might just find that the act of writing helps you see your life and yourself in a whole new light. So grab a notebook and start today. The insights you uncover might surprise you. What does success truly mean to you? Is it the job title, the bank account, or the accolades? For many of us, success is tied to external markers, things we can measure, display, or compare. But Stoicism challenges this view, offering a radically different perspective. True success isn't about what you achieve on the outside, it's about who you become on the inside. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, put it this way: "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In other words, success isn't about accumulating more, it's about cultivating virtue, wisdom, and inner peace. This is the Stoic view of success. It's not what you have, but how you live. Let's break this down. In a world that often equates success with material wealth or social status, Stoicism reminds us that these things are ultimately beyond our control. You can work hard, make smart decisions, and still lose your job, your savings, or your reputation. But what you can control is your character, how you respond to challenges, treat others, and live in alignment with your values. This is where true success lies. It's not about the title on your business card or the car in your driveway. It's about the integrity, courage, and resilience you bring to every moment of your life. Think about it this way. Imagine two people. One has a high-paying job, a luxurious home, and all the trappings of external success, but they're constantly stressed, unfulfilled, and disconnected from their values. The other has a modest lifestyle, but they're grounded, content, and deeply connected to their sense of purpose. Who's truly successful? Stoicism would argue it's the second person, because they've mastered the one thing that matters most, themselves. This doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for external goals, it just means that your worth isn't tied to them. Success, in the Stoic sense, is about living a life of virtue, no matter your circumstances. Now let's make this practical. Consider your career goals. Maybe you're aiming for a promotion, a higher salary, or recognition in your field. These are valid aspirations, but Stoicism invites you to ask a deeper question. Why do I want these things? Is it for the status, the validation, or the sense of security? Or is it because they align with your values and allow you to contribute meaningfully to the world? By reflecting on your motivations, you're not just pursuing success, you're redefining it. The same principle applies to societal pressures. When you stop measuring yourself against others' standards and start focusing on your own growth, you free yourself from the endless cycle of comparison and competition. Here's a challenge for you. Take a moment to reflect on your own definition of success. What would it look like if you measured it by your character rather than your achievements? How would your priorities shift if you focused on becoming the best version of yourself rather than chasing external validation? By redefining success in this way, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're creating a life of deeper meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. So, what does success truly mean to you? The answer might just change everything. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It's a vivid metaphor, but one that captures the emotional toll of resentment. Stoicism teaches us that forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's actions or pretending they didn't hurt us. It's about freeing ourselves from the weight of bitterness. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about refusing to let their actions define your emotional state. It's a way of reclaiming your peace and moving forward with clarity and strength. So, how does forgiveness work in practice? Think about a time when someone wronged you. Maybe it was a betrayal, a harsh word, or a broken promise. Holding onto that hurt might feel justified, but over time it becomes a burden. It keeps you tied to the past, replaying the pain over and over. Forgiveness, from a Stoic perspective, is about breaking that cycle. It's not about forgetting or reconciling with the person who hurt you. It's about releasing the emotional grip they have on you. By letting go of resentment, you're not just freeing them, you're freeing yourself. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're holding a grudge against a coworker who took credit for your idea. Every time you see them, you feel a surge of anger, and it's affecting your mood and productivity. Stoicism would encourage you to ask yourself, is this anger serving me? The answer is likely no. Instead of stewing in resentment, you could choose to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. This doesn't mean you ignore the situation or let it happen again. It means you release the emotional weight so you can focus on what truly matters: your growth, your goals, and your well-being. Here's a challenge for you. Take a moment to reflect on someone you need to forgive. It could be a friend, a family member, or even yourself. What's holding you back from letting go of that resentment? And more importantly, what would it feel like to release it? By practicing forgiveness, you're not just healing old wounds, you're creating space for new possibilities. This is the Stoic way. It's not about avoiding pain, but about transforming it into a source of strength and peace. So, who will you choose to forgive today? The answer might just change how you see the world. As we come to the end of this journey through Stoic wisdom, let's take a moment to reflect on the principles that can help us not just survive, but thrive through life's toughest challenges. We've explored the dichotomy of control, learning to focus on what we can influence and letting go of what we can't. We've practiced Amor Fati, embracing our fate and finding meaning in every experience, even the painful ones. We've used Memento Mori to remind ourselves of life's impermanence, helping us live with intention and purpose. And we've seen how practices like gratitude, forgiveness, and self-discipline can transform the way we face adversity, turning obstacles into opportunities for growth. These principles aren't just ancient ideas, they're timeless tools for navigating the complexities of modern life. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This is the essence of Stoicism. It's not about avoiding hardship, but about using it to build resilience, wisdom, and inner strength. Every challenge you face is an invitation to grow, to learn, and to become more fully yourself. The question is, how will you respond? Now it's your turn. Take a moment to think about how these Stoic principles could apply to your own life. What's one challenge you're facing right now, and how could you approach it with a Stoic mindset? Maybe it's a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, a setback that's left you feeling stuck, or even a fear that's holding you back. Whatever it is, remember, you have the tools to face it with clarity, courage, and grace. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments how you plan to apply Stoic principles in your own life, or let me know which idea stood out to you the most. And if you're hungry for more insights like these, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Together, let's continue exploring how ancient wisdom can help us live more meaningful, resilient, and fulfilling lives. Thank you for watching, and remember, the challenges you face today are the stepping stones to the person you're becoming tomorrow. Keep moving.